This is a much easier shot because the lie is so clean.
It's for an eagle.
Now, how's Fowler's ball sitting in the bunker? This doesn't look good.
Well, I said he's a great bunker player. He'll need to be. This is so awkward. It's the steepness of the backswing, needing to get it up and come down softly. Got to give a full release of the club head, and you know what? That's pretty good from where he was. I don't think he'll be disappointed with that.
Marks out of 10.
8.
You're a hard man.
You are a hard man, Tony.
Well, I know how good he is, and I think if he played it perfectly, I think he's so good he could have held that. So that would have been the 10. But it was a really tricky shot. And he'd be very pleased to make a 4. Awkward position.
Tony Johnson was born in a bunker, so he's well qualified to comment.
My mom always said it was a terrible childbirth, Jules. Came out with foot joys on a ping Sandown. It was terrible.
It appears that Kevin Kisner did get a birdie at the 15th, so 3 in a row. He's now leading at the 5 under on his own. How many times, Tony, have you played Carnoustie?
Oh, quite a few. Played the Dunhill Links here a number of times. Won Open Championship, Seniors Open, and just love it. I mean, to be honest, when when the wind's blowing, it's a bit too tough a test for me, Jules. It's brutal. I would love to have played it when the course was running like this. Never got the opportunity. That's why I actually think Lang is a good bet this week. I mean, he is, you know, his win at Royal Fourth Call in the Seniors Open. He won
when it was like this.
When it was like this, he won by 13, and I promise you, not a man on the planet could have beaten him that week. Not from any age group or any tour, and he's capable of that sort of thing on a hard, bouncy links course.
Well, you have to have great imagination and feel and visualization and a huge variety of shots. And it's another putt that slides by for Fowler. That really is surprising. Only a par for him, having gone into the par 5 with an iron.
The pros always hate that, don't they? When they can reach a par 5 easily and don't walk off with birdie or better. It's just irritating. But he's a pretty cool customer, Rickie. He'll just put it on the back shelf and move along.
It's a bit like the Grand National, this, isn't it? Or any sort of marathon. You're just negotiating a position at these stages for the first 3 days. You're just trying to be there or thereabouts. Don't blow yourself out of the water.
Well, hold a delightful putt on the previous green. This one just 4 feet, 4.5 feet. Using that ever popular putter so many pros are using, and well, that wasn't the most positive stroke from Jon Rahm, but it's a birdie 4. He moves to 2 under par.
Yeah, and he'll be irritated by that drop shot at the 4th. Building some momentum though. Great chance for Wood's first birdie of the day. Gets it back to level. He's a real pro's pro. I was saying earlier on that he's suffered with injuries over the years. He actually was a very good footballer as a young lad, had a serious knee injury. Was hopefully play for Bristol City, who used to be quite good as a football team.
Would have made a heck of a goalkeeper, Jules, at 11 foot 14.
So you got to head towards those 2 bunkers, which of course you want to avoid. And look at that second shot. Look where the pin has been positioned. And that's the reason why you're probably not seeing scores that you would expect to see on a day like this, because the RNA have protected this course by putting the pins in rather tough spots, many of them just over pot bunkers, where obviously you're landing on a downslope, and unless you're coming from the fairway, you're not going to get very close to the ball, or have any chance of getting close to the ball. So with that pinned, if you're going to make a birdie, you're either going to have to hold a long putt, or you're going to have to find the fairway with your tee shot and get some spin on the ball with your second. And average is just 4.11, so it's a tough hole, playing over its par.
I have to say, Dom, after seeing Jon Rahm hit driver at the 3rd, every time he pulls an iron out, I want to give it an extended boo. But this is the smart play. Play for position, as Dom said. You don't get it on the short grass. These pins are, they fair but very tough, and the greens are reasonably receptive, so if you get it on the short grass, you can work the ball. That lie looks okay with a good angle.
Don't you just love the fact, Tony, that the way the course is playing, you can play the same hole. One player may hit a driver, another player's going to hit a 7-iron off the tee. I mean, it's mind-boggling, the variations.
Yeah, the joys of links golf, isn't it? Hard and fast links golf. And I think, you know, another great thing about this group is the variety of players' physiques in this game. You know, you've got Jon Rahm, who's just a bull of a man. Stop. Don't, you devil. Chris Wood, who's the 6'6" willowy character. Rickie Fowler, little guy. 3 different ways of playing the game, and it's a wonderful game.
Rickie's 5 feet 9 inches compared with the 6 foot 6 inches of Chris Wood, but an athletic build.
It's only really tennis which is comparable, isn't it? Most other sports, you've got a certain build. If you're a basketball, you need to be pretty tall. I mean, the shortest player in basketball is about 6'2" or 3. You know, American football, you've got to be bulked up. But in golf, it doesn't really matter. And tennis is the same. Last week we saw in Wimbledon, 6'10", isn't there? And with Kevin Anderson, 6'8". You got Federer, is he 6 foot, Federer? Just under, perhaps?
Yeah, I would say he is, yeah.
But you have some shorter players. Nishikori, the top 10 players, under 6 foot, maybe even 5'8".
The remarkable thing in tennis is that stat that they gave after the final is that 48 of the last 53 majors have been won by the top 4, and only 3 of those by Andy Murray, so the other 3 have done pretty well.
And they're all in their 30s now.
Oh, it's astonishing. You were talking about Chris Wood being a goalkeeper. Jon Rahm actually was a goalkeeper as a youngster. He was apparently quite a good goalkeeper and big kung fu expert. And he certainly used a bit of kung fu with his driver on the 3rd.
Well, Jules, this just absolutely astonishes me. I'm wondering if he's the first man in history that's ever got on the tee and said, "Yes, Caddy, I think I'll have a go at this green." I mean, it's only carried by 6 inches, but the fact that he's gone at it is amazing.
Shame he didn't convert it. Very close. There are so many players now, though, who can really smack the ball a long way. I mean, there have always been long hitters. Greg Norman, Jack Nicklaus in their time were big long hitters, but now the field is full of them. But it's a question of whether you can use it to your advantage. Rahm has that ability.
He's got a bit of ability with a short stick too, hasn't he?
Well, he would appear to have everything.
Including an unbelievably short fuse. But it's a search for perfection. I think that causes the lack of patience, and he's only 23. He'll learn.
But for the most part, it doesn't seem to hurt him that much. You see him losing it, but then gets back on the train. And there are times when it all goes horribly wrong, but you'd be familiar with that.
Yeah, but that was because of lack of talent on my part. But yeah, I think, you know, most of the time he can lose the plot and put it behind him before the next shot, which is the key. You know, some guys just cannot contain themselves. They can't bottle it up. If they do, they actually go sideways, even worse than if they lose the head. But you know, he's a youngster.
Yeah, you forget he's 23. He certainly doesn't look 23. He looks like he's, you know, he's in his 30s almost. A very mature-looking guy. But yeah, he's remarkably young. Fowler. How aggressive is he going to be with this line?
9-9. That's a bad miss.
Just saw the flag there. That's wind has shifted. It's southeast now, isn't it? Which means it's coming off the left on 7 and straight downwind on 8, which was what we saw yesterday at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we were standing on that 8T with Peter Uline,
who hit possibly the hardest and highest 9-9 I've ever seen. The man in the moon was distinctly worried.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll take it on the green. I think he's right. You look at that pin position out that rough. Cannot attack it. Just try and get it high and soft. 15 feet left of the flag somewhere. Smart shot.
This was a hole where Charles Schwartzel yesterday in practice played one ball as if he was playing a proper round, and he was 5 under through 17. I think he probably parred the last, including a double bogey on this hole to put it out of bounds down here. But he's in good form.
He hit a driver here, he said, but he's probably not going to do that the rest of the week. Can he get it to the green?
Bad mistake. Because his tee shot he was trying to lay up, and obviously just got a firmer bounce than anticipated, but one of those ones where you do want to give yourself a good kicking. I'll just lay it up safe at the bunker. In she goes.
But that's why it's so hard this week. It's really hard to play the way that Tiger has played in the past at St Andrews, at Hoy Lakes, and tried it at Millfield as well. So I'm just going to play short of the bunkers all the time. I'm going to take the bunkers out of play. But with the ground as firm as this and the ball running so far, it's very hard to do.
Sure is. I know on Tuesday, the 5th hole, it's 300 yards to the end of the fairway. And downwind, the guys were hitting 7 irons to lay up short of the 300-yard ditch. It's very hard to get your head around that because, you know, most of these guys will have never played conditions like that and may never again.
Jordan Spieth fans will be glad to know that he's had a couple of early birdies at the 2nd and 4th. He's at 2 under. Coming in here, really not in great form. Defending champion. Thomas Pieters has had birdies at the 14th and 15th to get it to 2 under after double bogey at the 3rd. Rather like playing St Andrews, you've always got to get through the 17th, the famous road hole. Playing this course, you know that there's trouble lurking big time over the last 3 holes especially.
There's been a lot of talk about the 17th this week, Jules. If it gets downwind, how they're going to get it over the first burn and stop it short of the second one, because it's literally like a runway down there. So we shall see.
But that's not the prevailing wind, and it's forecast to be pretty much prevailing wind all week, so
yeah,
they should be all right. But you know, forecasts are only forecasts. Reality can be quite different.
Look at the shot he's left himself, Chris Wood, and judging by the practice, he's going to play a bump and run. How much of that bunker is he going to take on?
Just absolutely no way to get that close off these bone hard fairways. The error was the tee shot.
He did have a tied second in France 3 weeks ago, but apart from that, his form has been a bit iffy. I talked to him on Tuesday and he said, yeah, I'm sort of okay. He wasn't effusive, but felt that he was going in the right direction.
Oh, it's brilliant. Brilliant. Fantastic shot. He had all sorts of options there. And, you know, you know in there that you've got to get a little lucky with a strike on the ball. But he's made the right choice. He's played the right shot. He's had the right strike. And it is just a gorgeous little shot.
I watched Patrick Reed, Masters champion, practicing around one of the holes yesterday and just dropping a number of balls down and hitting shot after shot after shot in quick succession from the same place or very close to it, hitting, I don't know, probably 10 different shots, different ways of playing it. It was just brilliant. I didn't realise just what skill he had. It's no wonder he won the Masters. You know, playing it with a very open face, lofted, off the back foot, knocking it in low, with spin, without spin. Huge variety, out of the rough, out of tight lies, all the varieties.
He works hard, Patrick Reed, and they say no one works harder on their game than Patrick Reed does. He's 8 hours a day, virtually every single day, and he plays a lot too. Now, Rahm.
Break from right to left off that shoulder there. I would love to see one day, Dom, I'd like to see a track man, and I'd like to see these pros hitting the same club with the same chip, and you could read the variety of spin rates on the ball. It's the finesse of those shots that I think the average golfer doesn't understand, how they can alter the spin rate and the amount of grip on every club in the bag. I tried to teach that to you once, Jules, but my goodness, you can't turn a circle into a square. I have got my arm around him, folks, in case he gives me a backhander, but
I do have to report that I asked him for a bunker lesson because I said my bunker play was rubbish and I holed the first one.
He did.
Yeah, you get lucky sometimes. Wood for the par, it's not going to be. It's just looking like a bit of a battle for him.
Yeah, going back to that French Open, even though he tied for second, by his own admission, he said he didn't feel like he was going to win that tournament because the finish there was so hard and he just wasn't in control of his game. So he was actually happy with his tied second finish. Alex Noren, of course, playing another great final round. What a player he is.
You know, Alex Noren winning on the Ryder Cup course will be in the Ryder Cup. Chris Wood was last time. I don't think he will be this time. It would need something extraordinary to happen.
So will this man, virtually guaranteed to be.
Oh, yeah.
And the difference this year, we're going to have a few rookies. I think Hatton's in, Fleetwood's probably in, this man's in, and Noren in. 4 rookies, but they're not rookies that you feel you have to be careful with. you let them out, let them off the leash.
Well, look at Thomas Pieters last time.
I think Rahm would be like a Doberman, wouldn't he? He'd just take them off the leash and say, attack.
Eighth hole, 181 yards today, and OB still running off right up the left side of the hole. A small target this because it's like an upturned saucer, this green, and if you miss it just slightly left and you land on the slope and miss the bunkers, well, you're going OB with that pin today too on that left side. I think you're going to see a lot of shots to the middle of the green, just off to the right. I think that bunker might be quite a popular spot too this week, that right-hand bunker.
It normally gets a good workout, doesn't it, Dom? And yeah, I think anybody that's close to that hole today has probably pulled at a fraction, because that OB fence will be in the forefront of everybody's minds.
Another fine example, Tony. You don't need a long par 3 to make it a good par 3.
No, 100% with you on that, Dom. And when we get around to 13, I think the 13th is one of the great par 3s in world golf. I mean, you know, when we do our walk around to have a look, just had to walk around that a few times yesterday and just look at it from every angle and just appreciate the architecture of the hole. It's sheer genius. But you're right. I mean, what are the most memorable par 3s? Are they 230-yard par 3s to a football pitch? No.
Not at all. The best ones are, well, they're about between 100 and 150 yards long. You just got to remain absolutely committed on this shot. If you pick a shot, stick to it.
Little draw, teeing it up on the left side of the tee to give himself a better angle away from the fence. Little draw into the flag, and you know what? I don't think there's a guy in the field that wouldn't take that shot today.
And the wind certainly has shifted. It's virtually straight down here on 8, just a touch off the right.
Rickie also just trying to hit the little, tiny little draw in there. Beauty. It's not a monstrously long par 3, but every guy who gets it on that surface today will just be a little exhalation of breath. Ooh, thank you. I'm on board. So nice to see Chris Wood completely healthy again. He had such problems with his back, his lower back. I think it's that long torso. A lot of the very tall guys end up with severe back problems. Then he had problems with his wrists and went on and on and on, but he's shipshape now.
Yeah, he's a bit like David Howell. He's been injury prone. I remember him playing at Castellon at Sergio's tournament a few years ago, and he tripped up a step, hurt his ankle there, and then, as you say, damaged his wrist, was out for 5 months playing tennis. I mean, how do you break your wrist playing tennis?
If you're playing the Dow, I think it's a big possibility.
I doubt if he was playing the Dow. Not for very long, anyway. We're saying that right back in the mid-16th century, where golf was played here, the original 10 holes were laid out by Alan Robertson in 1839, and then Tom Morris Sr. built the original 18 holes in 1867. But it was around the early part of the 20th century where they were very keen to get the Open Championship, and there was a very inspirational group leading the links management team then, and they got James Braden, the record-breaking Open champion, to actually design a course specifically for the Open Championship. It's the only time that's ever happened. And finally they got the Open in 1931. Tommy Armour was the champion then. Henry Cotton won it in 1937. And then the famous win for Ben Hogan. He'd already won the Masters and the US Open, came over here for the one and only time and won this. He couldn't go back for the USPGA, which was a match play championship then. Couldn't get back in time on the ferry across the Atlantic. Gary Player, the 1968 champion, getting his full set of majors. his second Open, 5th major when he won here at 1 over par, 289. Beat Bob Charles and Jack Nicklaus by 2. Michael Benalik, the long-time secretary of the R&A, was the silver medalist that year, the amateur, leading amateur. And then Tom Watson won in a playoff, winning his first major, beat Jack Newton. Last time there was an 18-hole playoff on the Sunday. He shot 71 to Newton 72. And then Paul Lawrie in 1999, of course, won in a playoff, coming from 10 shots back, amazingly, beating Justin Leonard and famously Jean van der Velde, who should have won it. 3 ahead, game down the last. Rod Pampling was the first round leader that year with a 71, and then missed the cut with the second round 86. And Podrick Harrington in 87, the first of his 3 majors, won it back-to-back, winning in 2008 at Royal Birkdale, but also in a playoff, beating Sergio Garcia, who was the leader after the first 3 rounds.
And going back all the way back to 1931, interestingly, when Tommy Armour shot 71 on that final day, that was a new course record. And I think 2 71s today, this week, will miss the cut.
Yes. Tommy Fleetwood holds the course record now with a 63 that he shot in the Dunhill Links last year, although 64 is the open course record held by Steve Stricker and Richard Green.
Elects to go with a putter up the fairly steep little rise, underjudging it a touch, but definitely the percentage shot. I think we'll see a lot of well, we know we'll see a lot of putters off fringes, and probably a fair bit of the little Todd Hamilton shots with hybrids and 3 woods, although a lot of guys I think may have left the hybrids out the bag in preference for the new generation of driving irons.
Paul Lawrie in 99 was the first Scottish-born player to win the Open since Tommy Armour in 31. Tommy Armour, a naturalised American, but born in Scotland. Of course, Sandy Lyle won it, but he wasn't Scottish-born. Born in England.
I must say, Jules, I felt very sorry for Paul Lawrie, because everybody remembers John van der Velde's historic disaster up 18, but Lawrie played brilliantly to win that, and in the playoff. Maybe didn't get quite enough recognition.
Rahm had to settle for the par. No, I remember Lawrie birdied the 17th and the 18th in the playoff to win it quite comfortably in the end. In foul conditions, it was almost dark, it was wet and cold and just horrible. And he had a fantastic, I think it was a 4-iron into the 18th to almost gimme birdie range. It was ridiculous how well he played.
Oh, good try.
He's missed all on the right. Miss, 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 miss. Most uncharacteristic.
Strange, isn't it? Even as a good putter, you can just have days like that where, I don't know, if you wake up and your eyes have changed overnight or something, and just you can hit every putt left or right, and then you see the guys end up getting their caddies aiming them because they know that they've got an issue with it. But I believe that's going to be banned from 1st of January, isn't it? Caddies aiming players. They were talking about it. Have they?
Standing behind them, yeah, I think
so.
Yes, definitely. Lots of new rules coming out in 2019.
Unbroken blue sky. Well, depending which way you look.
Walking towards the 9th tee, and where the wind is helping from behind. 463 yards, but with this helping wind, most of these players will only have about an L wedge left with their second shots. That first bunker, 265 yards to clear, not going to be in play for these players. If they elect to hit a driver, you just got to fit it between those two bunkers, and if you do, and if you get up the left side, well, then this pin perhaps is accessible. But anything on the right side in the rough, well, forget about it. You're going to have to play to the middle of the green. Once again, the whole location is protecting this, the value of this hole, the score value.
Does the fact that the last 3 Opens here have been decided by playoffs mean that playoff is more or less likely this time?
Good question, Jules.
Well, you'd have to think statistically it's less likely.
It's odds on, isn't it?
But it is the course for big comebacks.
There's the bunker. Avoid it somehow.
Avoid it somehow. Has he though? That's Nicklaus's bunker. That used to be a mound that Jack Nicklaus in '68 said that it was an unfair mound, rather put a bunker in there. And in 1976 they did turn it into a bunker, and it's been called Nicklaus's bunker ever since. Saying that, it was 50 yards further forward, this tee. This back tee has been here for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. So that bunker used to be in play for everybody. Now you've got to crush it to get there in normal conditions.
It's interesting that the course is 19 yards shorter this time than it was in 2007, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we were looking at that yesterday, Jules. I can't quite get that. Maybe it's just been measured differently.
No, I think it's because of the grandstands around the first tee. They've had to shorten the first hole. I believe that's the case.
Yeah, that's 10 yards shorter than it was.
Well done, Tom. I didn't realise that. Good spot.
Ooh. That's a big break.
And a bit of green. We've seen some green, Tom.
The third is 8 yards shorter, which is obviously why Rahm was able to drive it.
Well, with an iron off the tee, you can really afford to aim at that left trap, you feel. And that's exactly where he's headed.
You're obviously going to see a typical links land with lots of humps and hollows. You'll always see a little bit more green in the bottom of the hollows where the water tends to congregate. There are a few patches around the course where it's very green, but for some reason they must have been watering there. I'm not quite sure why. Kisner leading by 1 at 5 under. Good start from Matthew Southgate with a 69. Danny Willett also 69, bogeying the 17th and 18th. Tony Finau has just had another birdie at the 6th to get it to 2 under again. Xander Lombard, talented young South African who's been going through troubled waters, has had a couple of early birdies. He's at 2 under after 5. Sean Crocker from the United States, but his father was Zimbabwean. Birdied the 2nd.
His dad played Test cricket for Zimbabwe, actually. Sean was born in Zimbabwe. They moved over when he was young, but a heck of a talent. I think he needs I think if he gets a top 20 here this week, Jules, I think he gets full exempt status on the European Tour, I believe.
Justin Rose amongst those on level par, 1 birdie, 1 bogey so far. Kirilak Atibarnrat had a double bogey at the third, but then bogeyed the fourth. He's at level par. Charles Schwartzel starting with a par at the first. Keep an eye on him. I just fancy he might do something good this week. Marcus Schindler was out in 36, had a couple of birdies in the next 5 holes, but has just gone 5-5, bogey, double bogey at the 15th and 16th.
Very conservative play off the tee for Chris Wood, leaving himself 222 yards. So he's just going to have to play to the middle of the green at 193. Even Fowler's got to play to the middle of the green. And Jon Rahm got rather fortunate because he managed to fly that bunker there, but from the right side and from the rough. None of these players really can get it anywhere near this hole location. The best they're going to have is about a 25-30 footer for birdie, you feel.
Toward the club normally indicates it's not going where it was anticipated, but it creeps around the bunker. It's on the surface.
Fowler would like it about half that distance. And he has got it about half that distance. And that's as good as you can do, Tony. Downwind from that distance to
Absolutely.
that pin.
And there's a downslope just over that bunker. That hole's almost cut on the base of the downslope. I don't know how you can get it close downwind.
And Jon Rahm will be delighted with the shot if his ball ends up around where Rickie Fowler's is, because that's a good idea, good indication of what he faces.
Yeah, pretty good. Using his head. As good as he could do.
Does that get you excited, Tony, when you see M3 on the side of his head?
What, being a BMW man? Yes, it does. Typical petrol heads. We're all the same. Man, he's a strong lad, isn't he, when you see him walking down there? I mean, those thighs. Jules, I remember when I was about 20,
You didn't have thighs like that?
No, my waist size was 28, and I remember reading an article in a golf magazine that Jack Nicklaus's thigh measurement was 30 inches. He had 2 of my thighs attached to his torso. And does that generate some power or what?
What's your waist size now, Tony?
We used to be friends. Listen, it's not to do with gluttony, it's gravity. I put it down to gravity.
Yeah, I concur.
You were talking about Chris Wood having back problems. I don't know if you've seen him recently, but certainly he was seeing a physio that Justin Rose uses. Justin Buckthorpe, who comes from your neck of the woods. Have you come across him?
No, I can't say I have, Jules.
He's a bit of a magician, apparently. A few of the players have seen him get themselves sorted out. In the Surrey area, west of London.
No, I have a terrible back myself, and I went to see this orthopedic surgeon in Hong Kong, who's quite well known. Apparently he's got a good reputation. He told me he's been a doctor for 40 years, an orthopedic doctor. He says in all those 40 years he's never seen a bad back through twisting motion. Everything's from lifting. He says every single case that he's ever encountered was from lifting something.
Well, the number of players it's happened to, lifting luggage off carousels and things like that.
Yeah, and lifting
Danny
hand
Willett,
luggage into overhead
Michael Campbell.
overhead cabin luggage as well,
Yep.
Jules. So many guys do their necks and back ends with that.
And these
Back
days,
end.
weights in
Yeah,
the gym.
Absolutely. Something that you and I won't have to worry about.
I don't know, I've done a lot of waiting in gyms.
Well, there's only one goal here for Woody. Let's just get the 2 putts. Just get dead weight. If she drops, she drops. And this is a very subtle green to read, this 9th. It sort of appears very flat when you walk onto it, but you know there's always a little something going to happen, and it's just seeing it is a difficulty. You're seeing a bit of right to left in it, and super. That's all the doctor ordered.
He for a long time was a Mizuno player, and they always said what a real professional he was. He didn't leave anything to chance. He'd get them almost before trackmans were in common use. They would go down to see him in Bristol and get everything set up exactly as it should be.
I just love Rickie Fowler's putting stroke. I love the release of the putter head. You know, so many guys these days, it's so very rigid, all shoulders and arms. But you know, when you think of Tiger putting at his best, same thing. A little release of the club head, and I think I like that. I think, you know, that's where you get a sense of timing, a sense of rhythm, and a sense of distance.
It makes a huge difference to the roll, doesn't it? I mean, when you get that release, if you're not used to doing it and you start playing with the release, you get another foot or two of roll on it. And it's something that I remember Tiger talking about probably back in 2000. It was something that he worked very hard on to get that precise and exact contact every time. And it's the only way you're really going to guarantee the length of the putt.
It hits a lot of practice putts with one hand, just the right hand releasing. Now Rahm, similar putt to Fowler's, doesn't come as far from the right as Fowler expected it to, but he is looking out to the right. That shouldn't come back that much, should it? Oh, it does. It has. Oh.
It's amazing. I've done almost the same line. I think Rickie Fowler has read that exactly the same as Jon Rahm, and for some mysterious reason, it just didn't take the break. Because I'm with you, Dom. I thought that's going to hang out right. Very good try, though.
Just check out the green book, Tony.
Jules, you're holding it up in front of me, and I feel like I've developed some kind of serious eye seizure. I just can't. I mean, I wouldn't know what to do with that, Jules. There's so much info on there, it's mind-boggling.
There are literally thousands of tiny little arrows. There must be 5,000 arrows on that one green alone. I mean, how do you read that?
Wouldn't be very good for the senior tour.
You'd need 3 pairs of glasses and a magnifying glass.
You'd need a much bigger book. Cool, that is unbelievable, Jules. That is astonishing. They're sort of talking about eventually maybe putting an end to the Greens reading books.
They need to stop talking and do it.
Take a look at the 10th hole. After win today will be off the right. Seen quite a few players already this morning hit drivers quite close to the burn, and in that case those right bunkers shouldn't be in play, and a right to left wind for a right-handed player is usually the easiest wind. You can actually let it ride, hit it up the right side, and let the ball just ride the wind. Pin all the way in the back of the green. You can actually, never easy when the pin is at the back. Actually, it's always a little bit tougher to be aggressive and get the ball all the way to that back portion of the green. But if these guys hit drivers, Jon Rahm probably will, and he's only left himself 60-70 yards, well, then it's a different proposition.
I've got a little question for you here, Dom, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but this hole is called...
You're going to.
I'm going to. It's called South America. I've done some research. I cannot for the life of me find out why, but I know if anybody would know, you would. Any ideas?
Well, I was told that earlier today, actually, and I'd heard this story a couple of years ago. Apparently one of the locals was emigrating to South America, and his friends here in Carnoustie threw a farewell party for him. Well, he enjoyed it so much, he missed the boat the next day. He never left. So in his honor, they called it South America.
Oh, well, that's brilliant. I did not know that. Thank you for that. Oh, I do love stories like that. Missed the boat, literally. Well done, Dom.
No. Miss it. Miss it.
What a picture. What a photograph.
Well, he's not looking particularly pleased, so he's the one lone bunker down there. We shall see.
Well, he had a fantastic drive on the third, but then not such a good one on the fourth. He might well be in trouble here again. It's going to be intriguing to see how the driver men fare over 4 days.
Yeah, you'd think if 20 guys in the field decided to just go at it hammer and tongs driver all the way, one of them is going to get lucky during the week and will be very hard to beat because they'll be hitting little chips into greens where other guys are laying up and going with 9, 8, 7 irons. That's a big difference. But this golf course, if you try and take the bull by the horns, you just feel at some point it's going to punish you.
Driver for Chris Wood as well. Well, they say that when the wind blows, this is the hardest course on the open rotor. And when the wind doesn't blow, it's the hardest course on the open rotor.
Well said, Jules. It's nearly 400 yards down to the Barry Burn short of the green here, and yesterday, with a little bit of helping wind, guys were almost driving it in there. It was astonishing.
The Open Championship week, they're always different, but in a way it's the same. There's that wonderful arriving on the Sunday or the Monday, everybody's relaxed and chatty, and then the temperature builds and the pressure builds. On Wednesday afternoon everyone's getting a bit tense, and then the gun goes on Thursday morning, and it's just fantastic. But it's always different because links courses are so different and the weather is so different. Just at the moment it's glorious. Kevin Kisner certainly enjoying himself out in front playing the last. Terrific start from Eric Van Rooyen.
Yeah, he's a heck of a young player. First year out on the European Tour, rookie year, and doing very, very well. And nice young man, well spoken, as is Xander Lombard there. Jules, you know him quite well.
Yep, it's good to see him back, having gone through difficult times. Jon Rahm going out in 2 under, but in trouble seemingly on the 10th. Alex Levy 1 under after 1. It's always nice. Bernard too. Martin Keimer, Andy Sullivan, Eddie Pepperell, all players with aspirations on the European Tour, finishing level. Just The one birdie, one bogey so far from Rickie Fowler, and his putter has not been very convincing by his high standards. Hasn't really looked like making very much, to be honest.
No, he hasn't. I mean, I think Rickie's as good as anyone on the planet from 4 feet and in, but he also holds a lot of 15 and 20 footers. Nothing yet today.
So the 10th heading back towards the clubhouse. You're at the furthest point away pretty much here on the 10th tee. Burn running across the front of the green. And coming back in the opposite direction on a short par 4, 382 yards. Slight dogleg right, drivable for some. You either lay up with a very short iron short of the bunkers or have a go at it. Then the straight 12th really hard hole. It's the second hardest hole on average back in 2007. 503 yard par 4. Beautiful 13th that Tony loves, par 3.
I do. I love it with a passion, Jules. I think it's one of those par 3s that every architect should have to go and look at before he's let loose on paper.
Then the famous spectacle holes. You can see those 2 bunkers just short of the green, known as the spectacles, and it's a bit of a gift, really. Easiest hole, par 5, short par 5, and it just sort of cons you into thinking the game is easy before the final 4 holes. The 15th, a very awkward tee shot in these conditions. You've got to find a way of threading it through the bunkers on the slight dog-egg left, and then this long par 3 16, 248 yards, an absolute beast. 17th coming back into the prevailing wind, and you can see where the 17th actually is where you're looking to land the ball on the island between the 2 bits of the Barry Burn. And then the difficult 18th, hardest hole on the course back in 2007. Drama galore there. And Rahm did indeed find the bunker, but he's far enough back that he should be able to get it on the green. He's got to get it up pretty quickly. He's got to make perfect contact. Burn awaits if he catches some sand here.
He's got about 140 to the front edge. He's hoiked it left. Well, he'll have a lot of options with that chip. Look at that. He'll be able to bump and run it with any club in the bag. Maybe enough space to go with a little lob wedge. We shall see.
Back in 1989, there was another Open Championship playoff when Mark Kokovecchia emerged champion at Royal Troon. And one of the 2 unlucky losers has joined us now. We are thrilled to have the Australian, Wayne Grady.
Thanks, Tuddy, and I'm thrilled you brought that up.
Well, I brought it up because it's pretty good. Not many people come second.
Anyway, no, it was the first of the 4-hole playoffs, and here at Carnoustie in 75 was the last 18-hole playoff, as we watched Chris Wood, second shot to 10.
I should mention that he did win the PGA Championship, so he's not majorless.
Oh, he's leaning. He's going left. That's not too bad. Imagine if I'd won 2 majors. Wouldn't that have sent a lot of people stupid?
Not at all, Graves. We would have been overjoyed for you.
You'd have had as many as Norman.
Sharky. My old man was always happy that I won one in America before he did, so, or he didn't win one in America. So. I don't know why, but Dad got pleasure out of that.
Should get plenty of grip on this one. He's got a good lie there, just in the semi. Very nice. Now, normally you'd say that's almost gimme birdie for him, but hasn't looked like it today.
Very level, isn't he? He never changes his demeanour at all. Haven't seen him get overexcited or mad.
Is that the Japanese influence in him, do you think?
Yeah, it could be, because the Japanese are they're the most level of any race that I've seen play the game. And when you play over there, you just don't play up. It's frowned on. This guy's got a future, hasn't he? 23 years old already. Just
The great thing is he's got a future in front of him. It's always so much better than having a future behind you.
Yeah, it's frightening, isn't it, Grades, how much talent he's got. I mean, just before you came in, we were saying you can't really see a weakness in this guy's game.
no, he's got a good head on him too. I mean, when you can hit it his length, you don't have to do a lot more. You have half a game as well and a good putter.
Do you think with the modern game that there is a greater divergence than there used to be between the very powerful and the also-rans? Or has it always been like that?
No, it's always the longer guys that have had an advantage. I mean, Nicholas and those guys. Norman was long. Tiger, when he came out, was long. Arnold was long. Ben Hogan. So
It almost seems now that there's two battalions. There are a lot of big hitters who can do extraordinary things. I mean, you think of the way that Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy, they can hit it so far, and there are other players in the field who just look and say, well, that's stupid. Can't do that. Never will be able to. But it's no good just hitting it a long way. You've got to be able to control it, do something with it, and this guy can.
Played a terrific little bump and run at the par 5 6th. Just makes these shots look pretty easy. Ball back in their stance, hands ahead. Just squeeze it down to the turf. And completely and utterly misjudged it. And yeah, you can understand that when there's variation in the fairways, where there's some green patches and some firm patches, but these fairways are just basically rock hard, so you know exactly what kind of bounce you're going to get. Simple misjudgment, and well, nobody's perfect.
The vast majority of players now, and certainly in professional golf, play the ball through the air. And when you play on the PGA Tour, it's all through the air, generally onto soft fairways, soft greens. You hit it 193.5 yards, and that's what it does. This is golf the way it was originally designed to be. So different, and you either love it or possibly don't.
well, it brings more players into the game. That's the thing, because there's more options as to how to play. As you said, in America and most parkland courses, it's all through the air. We watched Chris Wood attempt a birdie here to get back to even par. Oh, great. Nice three, Chris Wood. Hence why Tom Watson, apart from the fact that Tom's one of the greatest links players that's ever been and one of the greatest players of all time, that he had a chance at 59 years old to win the Open Championship because he could use the ground. Have another look at Chris Wood. That looks like you, Obi.
I never looked in that, did it? Well, Grades, I'd have to say I know a lot of people who start off hating links golf. When they first play links golf, they think this is some kind of a joke. This is, I'm playing on a field here. Let's just see if Rickie can. Julian, you called it.
At last, he's just got his radar sorted out. Goes to 1 under par. Lovely. Perfect pace.
Grades, did you hate? I hated links golf, and
Yeah.
then, it's impossible not to learn to love it, is it?
I totally agree. Let's see if he can make this again. Yes, he can. Well done, Rickie. Yeah, I agree. I didn't like it when I first came over here, but after a while you just get to appreciate it and understand it. And yeah, I love links golf.
Well, Tiger Woods, as an amateur, played here in the Scottish Open in 1995. That was his first experience. And he stood hitting 4 irons on the practice ground for 2 hours, trying to hit the target at 100 the 100-yard marker, because he was so entranced by it, and he probably, perhaps more than anyone else, learnt at an early stage how to play links golf. Been playing here for the 4th time when he tees off at 3:21 this afternoon in our feature group. Once these boys have finished.
Long time to wait around, isn't it? What is it, 4:16 or 4:19 or something last off today?
Yeah, 4:16. Matt Jones, Thomas Curtis and Bronson Burgoon bringing the flags in.
This is a bogey putt here for Rahm. And that means your early tee time is about midday. I played last group at the Open at St Andrews in '84 with Wayne Riley and John Jacobs, and we hit off at 4:15. We're coming down the last. Everything was shut. There was no courtesy cars left. No restaurants open.
Wayne Riley won that Scottish Open that Tiger played in 1995 here at Carnoustie.
Yeah, he called Jack Newton and said, "I thought you told me that was a tough course." Because Newton, of course, lost the playoff here to Tom Watson in 1975.
This is the fascinating 11th, where you've got all those bunkers left and right, right in range of a mid-iron. You've either got to take a very short iron to lay up short of them, or have a go with driver. Now, it'd be very interesting to see what Rahm does here. Once you get past those fairway bunkers, the rough, for the most part, is not too thick left and right. There is a patch left that's not very nice.
The hole is called John Philp, as a commemoration of the great work done by the greenkeeper John Philp, who was here from '85 to 2012. Really restored this course to its former glory.
Especially in 1999.
Well, he was sort of likened to the Count de Sade, I'd have to say, that year, but he liked hard and fast, and Rickie, that is a bad mistake.
That's why it's so difficult. You've got to take a ridiculously short iron here on a very short par 4. It's only 380 yards, playing 391 today. And what's Chris Wood got here? Does it look like about an 8-iron maybe?
A little bit more than that. It's 230 to the first bunker on the left, 260 to the second.
Yeah, it is a bit more. But the ball's just running so far.
I reckon you would have been like me, Ovies. I grew another leg when the fairways were hard and fast. You'd all of a sudden get the ball out there somewhere near the big guys.
Absolutely.
No.
Stop.
He would have gone in that bunker.
Ooh.
How far is that run?
250, yeah, the 250 to that trap. So.
He's got the driver.
.382 yards.
357 to the front.
Well, the tee's up a bit. It's only 350 to the front.
Get there easy.
Oh, come on. Hey!
Not cutting.
The wind's going that way. Are you serious?
Deadly serious.
Well, that's interesting. He played with players still on the green.
Well, there's all sorts of stuff there. There's gorse, there's that tough marram grass. Hope he's okay.
Yeah, there's that really nasty, very broad-bladed, sort of pale green grass. If you get in that, that's nasty.
Yeah, it really is. And it's an indigenous grass, that marram grass, but you know, you see it in little clumps, and I wonder if they've sort of put some of it back in and restored it back to the more natural look, but it's brutal stuff.
What they have done, Sandy Reid, who's the links superintendent, is responsible for all three courses here, along with Craig Cloth, who's the head greenkeeper of this course. They started preparing in 2007 for the next Open. And they've done all sorts of things, not least of which the spectator mounding between the 5th and the 15th. They put in quite a lot of additional spectator mounding all round, just with sort of excess sand and soil. And it's a good viewing course now, I think. It's a story of what might have been so far for Rickie Fowler. The putter has been cold, but the great thing is he's not playing himself out of it. And this for a birdie at the first, and really not even close by his standards. An indifferent putt, missing it right. The second, 461-yard par 4, longish birdie putt, but again missing it comfortably on the right. The third he didn't go for, laid up, hit a sort of okay second shot, really not in birdie country. Or was he? Remarkable. Just a par at the 4th, and then they had this one for a par at the 5th, and another one missing on the right. Very makeable birdie. I mean, normally you'd give it this one on the 6th. Tony's brow is becoming even more furrowed.
And this was just sheer genius. And with the long fluffy stuff, great touch.
Back live with his second shot at the 11th, had to get it up pretty quickly. Did it just catch the lid there? It seemed to be a second sound.
Did sound like that, didn't it? Jules sounded like it might have just ricocheted off the revetting on the face of the bunker, in which case it probably would have taken off left.
Joe Scobber and his caddy, they've been together quite a good long time, I think.
Chris Wood found the fairway. Just start at centre of the green, try and let it feed back to the hole. That's a great shot. Very, very aggressive line, but good result.
.307-yard drive for Jon Rahm, leaving just 98 yards, but he's close to that patch of marram grass that Tony was talking about. Very line dependent. At least he's got an angle at the flag.
It is, yes. Yep. Yeah, I just... Right.
This is where you need hands and forearms like Jon Rahm's. Cling onto this for dear life, have a dig, and just hope the club face doesn't shut down.
Nice. Get up, get up, get up.
Well, he's done well, as they say in the classics, Jules, bloomin' heck. I mean, I don't think I could move it 10 yards out of that line.
Which classics do you read?
The Beano.
Grip it as hard as you can with your left hand. Try and keep the club face going towards the target, not let the head turn over. Pretty good effort, 38 yards back to flag, so hard to get it all the way there.
Wayne, how would you tackle it this week if you had his power, or Dustin Johnson's, or Rory McIlroy's? Would you be going for it all the time?
I think you just, I mean, when there's no wind, you've got a pretty good idea of what's in front of you. But once the wind starts to get up through the week, then you've got decisions to make. And I mean, you can be aggressive, but if you're going to hit driver on every hole, eventually you're going to come unstuck, because with the ball rolling out as far as it does, you get around the 360, 400 yard mark. I don't care who you are, you're not going to be hitting many fairways.
And as suspected, Rickie's ball did catch the side of that revetting and shot it off left and short. And again, you just hope for the right strike. Not too bad from there.
You call like that, you called that second shot out of the bunker like you've had a lot of experience.
Oh, great. I was always too greedy. You know the story in those pot bunkers. What can I get out and then take one club weaker to make sure? But you get tempted, don't you? I think I can just about do this. Side of the revetting, into the gorse. Oh my goodness. The scar tissue, Graves. The scar tissue remains.
I saw Schwartzel hit an incredible one onto the 18th green yesterday with a 7-iron from the right-hand bunker. Got it up so quickly and just flew it all the way up there. But he was saying that he felt you couldn't be too negative around here. You had to be a bit aggressive, sort of negative aggressive. And certainly, I mean, you look at holes like the 6th, I think you just have to take on that drive.
Well, you can take on that drive today, as we watch Rahm for this long birdie chance at 11. A pretty good effort, because you could get it over the bunkers, the two middle bunkers there at 6, these guys, without the breeze. But you start getting into the breeze or crosswind there, and it gets tight. It's a very, very different thing when the wind blows here. You can see the flags in the background, so we've got probably about 10 mile-an-hour winds.
It's remarkable that Tom Watson's win in 1975 was the lowest winning score here of the 7 Opens. He was 9 under, 279. Well, in terms of under par. Actually, Harrington was 277, but it was 7 under par. 2007.
I always thought this was the easiest par 80 I ever played, Jules.
Goodness me.
I was temporarily distracted. I'm sorry, Antonio. Your wit and wisdom flew straight over my head.
It normally does, Jules. Not that.
No, it doesn't.
As much of
I
it.
normally listen to your every word.
Come on, come on.
Fowler. Again, it was missing on the right.
Yeah, that was a good point you made earlier. I hadn't seen the early holes, but you're right. Everyone was. It's funny, you can get your putter out your bag some days, and it's been in your golf bag in your room overnight, and you get on the putting green and you think, somebody's kicked this. It looks bent. It looks like there's too much loft, or it just doesn't look right. And it's amazing how your eyes can just deceive you on a particular day.
Can you remember the lowest score you shot around here?
Not a clue, Jules, but I don't think it was particularly low, to be honest. This course tended to beat me up.
And Chris Wood is getting on a bit of a roll. Back-to-back birdies, haven't gone out in 37. He's now 1 under. He does seem to thrive in this environment. Knows how to play links golf. Has a nice low trajectory, a piercing flight.
Heading over to the long 12th. Used to be a par 5.
And into
Now
off the
back
left
to a
middle,
par
left
4.
left middle. Perfect, mate. Hit the golf club.
Second hardest hole on the golf course today. This really narrows up there, but the left rough, there's no problem with the left rough. It's only very wispy, but it's a nasty little pin position on the right-hand side. It's only 5 on, 7 off the left, the right. But surprisingly enough, we've seen a lot of guys hit in here today that the ball hasn't bounced on from the front of the green. It's actually stopped pretty well, which was interesting because it's brown as anything around there. You'd think it just bound through.
And those bunkers around the front are deep. You really want to be right over on the left-hand side to have a view of it. Just having a look at Chris Wood getting on the birdie run. Good birdie putt at the 10th. His second birdie of the day, and followed it up with his third with a much shorter putt at the 11th. Wood and Rahm both 1 under. Goodness, that looks painful. This should be pretty much straight into the wind. Breeze.
2 bunkers up the right, 285 to reach the first one. Sounds by the reaction that he's nailed it down the middle.
Just getting up to 92 feet. Quite a low flight. Actually didn't run that far. Seems to prefer moving the ball a bit left to right. Should be just perfect.
Quite a low-lying fairway with a ditch down the left, so you see patches of green.
And an iron for Rickie.
One of those driving irons, only 43 feet off the deck. Really the longest second, but you see the dark and light, well, the brown and green, and because of that, the rough on the left there, it's one of the very patchy areas of rough where there is some lush green. So avoid that at all costs.
A formidable Ryder Cup partnership. I think Justin Thomas, the PGA champion, is possibly the most complete all-round player of them all. Would you say?
Yeah, he's pretty good. The guy on the right's the best mind in the game.
Yes.
He's never beaten. I mean, what he showed last year at Birkdale was ridiculous. To let, you know, he was gone and he was going to lose the Open, and he settled himself down, made 5 at 13, and then birdied 14, 15, or eagled 15, birdied 16. It was just outstanding to turn them around like that. Definitely the best mind in the game. And Brooks is just an animal.
It's quite a skilled animal. But I mean, we've had some openings, haven't we? The last couple of years have just been Sunday afternoon. You couldn't take your eyes off it.
The Stenson Nicholson
Yes.
shootout was just something to behold, wasn't it? It was just golf at its finest.
which is great to see, because we went through a phase where there were some unlikely winners, perhaps not quite so exciting. The world golf at the moment is in a very good place. Fowler's left himself 237 yards here.
Yeah, that's a long way back, isn't it? I think world golf's in a great place with all the young guys that are playing well, and Jason Day as well, and those 4 guys that were just up on the screen. But you can't doubt that when Tiger plays, he generates more interest than everyone else. It's just incredible.
Well, they're trying to get together a grudge match, aren't they? Perhaps not the right title, maybe, but Mickelson and Woods, maybe for $10 million or something stupid. You would still watch that more than, I mean, probably more than Spieth against Thomas. Most people would be more excited to watch Mickelson against Woods.
I hope they don't do it unless they're playing for their own money, because they offered Jack Nicklaus and Johnny Miller that back in the 70s to play for $1 million, and they declined because they thought it wasn't in the best interest of the game. They were playing for too much money when tournaments back there were only $100,000. So.
So what's he going to hit here? 277.
Stay up the middle and then straight in there.
Right now he's thinking, I left this back a bit too far.
A lot of club.
237, he's got to carry it 220 to get it over the mound. Landed just short of the green.
It's helped, I suppose, a little by being into the breeze. I mean, that looks like a 2-iron, doesn't it?
I wonder if he intends to hit a little left to right slider around the 2 right-hand bunkers. The only way you can get it close to this pin, or if he's just going to try and thread it between the 2 pairs of bunkers and just try and get the heart of the green. You'd think that would be the sensible play. It looks like that's what he's intending. Maybe not. Yeah. Exactly what he was trying to do. That is a terrific shot from back there.
Come on, get excited.
Oh, I am, Jules.
That was a terrific shot.
Do you see my legs going here? I mean, do we love the Open? Do we love the Open? Just a bit. Oh, man.
That was the highest quality. Wood from 194 yards. More like a 6-iron. Yeah, they're getting remarkably soft landings though.
He's a fair bit further up the fairway. A luscious, nice lie, and he can hit the iron so hard and so high. I think if you're ever going to have a go at the flag, this is where it's going to be, and this is who's going to do it. It's come back off the hill, but it's definitely carried a good 10 yards further than expected.
You don't see that heat haze too often in Scotland. And you certainly don't see brown fairways. I doubt if Carnoustie has looked like this since the summer of '76.
Oh, Sandy Reid, who's been here 21 years, said it's the driest he's ever seen it. He's the superintendent. So he's been around a while, he's seen a lot.
Butch Harmon, who coaches Rickie Fowler, was pretty much ready to give up coaching, but he said working with Rickie has kept him going. He's developed from being a little bit of a show pony as a younger player to being a really serious golfer now.
Well, he was voted, quite ironically, just the week before he won the Players' Championship back in 2015 as being the most overrated player on tour.
Yeah.
And then he went out and won the Players' Championship. He was 6 under the last 6 and then won in a playoff. So he put that to bed pretty quickly. And then later in the year he came over here and played at Gullen and won the Scottish Open, birdieing 3 of the last 4 holes. So, yeah. But he still only won 4 tournaments, which you would expect a few more. I'm sure there's a lot more to come.
He needs one of these, doesn't he? He needs a major just to put the final stamp of approval on it. Just seeing those scores going through, Xander Lombard has birdied the 8th, a birdie 2 there for his 4th birdie to get into share of 2nd alongside his mate Eric van Rooyen. Big turnaround for Lombard. He's gone through the doldrums a bit. In fact, he really had lost the plot.
Yeah, I think that's fair comment, Jules.
Rory McIlroy's underway. Par at the first. He's another player who, about time he won again.
When his putter turns up, he's right, isn't he? I mean, it's just, that seems to be the thing to me, that he's not as consistent with the putter. Just such a brilliant player. I remember back here in 2007 when he was a fluffy-haired kid. We knew we were watching something special back then.
Yeah, he was the silver medalist that year, leading amateur, tied 42nd. Using that putter for quite a while and wheeled it to great effect. It was on the right line, just ran out of steam. Needs a better stoker. There's a few more clouds coming in now, chaps. There is a forecast for rain tonight. Supposedly a stronger wind as the afternoon develops.
Had a bit of rain in the morning to clear up, so the very early this morning and late this afternoon, and there'll be a little bit around lunchtime tomorrow, might be the better draw. No rain tomorrow morning. Sorry, Ogies.
Chris Wood leaving himself a little bit to do for his par.
It was beautiful out here at 5:30 this morning. 6:30 when the first 6:35 when the first players played. Magnificent time to be playing.
Why are you glaring at me? Am I meant to feel guilty, Grades? Because I'm starting to.
I'll be thinking of you back in Dundee while I'm still here at 8 o'clock tonight.
Fowler for birdie. Now, if he makes 3 here, that will be very, very impressive, as he played the very conservative route.
Yeah, he's one of these guys when he misses putts from that range, you're sort of amazed that they haven't got in because they come so close. But yet again, Jules, as you pointed out, missed right. I think it would have had a chance if it hadn't been so pacey. I think the line wasn't too bad on this occasion, but I don't want to jinx him, but this is where I've thought for the last 4 or 5 years that he's as good as anyone on the planet. I should have shut up, I know. Please prove me right, Ricky.
Just everything is so perfect, isn't it? There's just no tension. He looks as though he's actually preparing to pick the ball out of the hole as he addresses the ball.
He looks like most guys do when they've got an 8-inch putt.
Yeah.
You ever seen anyone with a narrower stance while putting and fouling? It's
No, not really. It is very, very close together, aren't they, the feet?
Unlike Podrick Harrington, I can't remember if it was when he won here, but he did go through a phase of having his feet so far apart you could have got a chieftain tank between his legs.
Yeah, giraffe at a waterhole. Rahm also makes those putts look, it just makes them look like there's no problem. I'll just put the ball down, pick my marker up, just pop it in from 3 feet. What's the issue here? Great to have that confidence.
We were talking earlier on how the committee at the time got James Braid to lay out this championship course as a championship course specifically to get the Open. Oh, Chris Wood, what are you doing? He's further away now than he was before.
And didn't hit the hole, Jules, from that range. That must have been a pull.
Oh, it's a shame, just as he seemed to be getting it going with back-to-back birdies. That'll teach me to start an irrelevant story over a critical putt.
Well, we'd sort of given it to him.
Yeah. But anyway, the point of the story was that built this course in 26, but they didn't like the last 3 holes. And in fact, they were very ordinary, apparently. And the chairman of the Links Management Committee at the time said, this is no good. And they actually redesigned the last 3 holes, complete redesign as to the way they are now, to get that first Open in 1931.
Nice, they got 3 of the local sadists in to do it too,
Yeah.
didn't they? Because they are so tough, my goodness.
The small town of Carnoustie on the other side of the railway line. It's a slightly grey place typically, but this week it's looking magnificent. And actually there's a lot of new building going on around and redevelopment, particularly around the course. It's really enhanced the place. And there's a new clubhouse that's opened this year, which is beautifully done to go with the not quite so new hotel, which was built, when? 20 years ago probably?
looking here at the 13th, is fantastic par 3. Playing downwind today, pin on the left-hand side. 175 yards. 3 good par 3s here at Carnoustie. 8, 13 and 16. They've really tucked all the flags today, haven't they? Because basically no wind and soft greens. They could have taken it apart out there today, but they've protected the integrity of the course with the pin positions.
Yeah, but without being daft.
No, they're not stupid. They're just good pins.
Just tough but fair pins.
Actually, you have to commend the RNA on many counts, I think. I think the RNA have been doing a lot of very good things over the last few years. They run a very good championship now.
Sure, they really do.
Well, as I've always said, that the RNA just set the course up and let the players go out and do their job.
Yes.
Where
well, the one year they didn't was here in 1999, and I think
I wasn't here.
They've learnt from that, and they've always said it wasn't their fault. It was the head greenkeeper at the time. But they've recognised that it was not right.
Every time I ever played this course, I couldn't wait to get on this tee and play this par 3. It is exquisite.
A little bit left. No way!
Oh wow, that is big misjudgment. If you look at that flag, it was almost limp. I'm sure there is a bit of breeze out there, but
Must have been very close to getting in the bunker.
just have a look at those flowers in the background, Jules. There is a little bit of breeze, isn't there? Not a heck of a lot.
Clayton would be sitting at home. What are they talking about? Breeze. There's nothing there. Fowler just try and start at the centre of the green and turn it a touch. Green slopes a little right to left, the back. Pretty good shot. Slopes right to left from the centre of the green, not over next to the bunker, the shoulder of the bunker. I only got to play here in the Senior Open in 2008, I think it was. And Turnberry used to be my favourite until I played here. This is my favourite.
Well, the turf here, I mean, it's different now, it's brown, but when the turf is green, it's just the most beautiful turf fescue grass to hit off.
Oh, gorgeous.
Wait a little bit. You're not sure of the grade.
Rickie tees it up left side of the tee. Starts at right half of the green. Little draw. Very nice. A little better. Woody further over on the right, different angle, slightly different shape perhaps of shot, and it's just wonderful.
Did you notice what was written on the sole of his shoe?
No, Jules, I'm afraid I did not, but my mind works differently, Jules. Tell me.
Nasty.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm going to get you a pair like that.
And I thought you loved me.
I did. No, I did not. No, I wonder what the other foot says. Must be a message in there somewhere.
But not going too far down that road, I don't think. Watch.
Good spot, Jules. I did not see that.
Suppose we'll never know what's on the other one, will we?
Not unless he hits left-handed.
Come on, Woody. Bend over. Lift up that left foot. Nasty. Same foot. Different foot. It's only one word.
Same word, different foot.
Different foot, yeah. Nasty.
He's nasty. It's obviously a new make of shoe that I've not come across.
Well, I'm wondering, the nickname for Carnoustie amongst the players when it's playing the Gale, and they call it Carnoustie.
Yes.
I wonder.
No, good thinking. You might find that a lot of players out there with that brand have got nasty on the bottom of their shoe. Oh, you're not just quite as stupid as you look.
I'm gloating now. I'm just going to sit here and just gloat.
Completely wrong, but it's a nice idea.
Rahm's got a long putt here that'll come off the shoulder to his right, and then also off the shoulder in the bunker up towards the flag. Distance control here be the most difficult. There's a good look at how much of the shoulder he'll have to take on. Great area here to sit. Not much at all, but a good putt. Take your 3 and get to the 14th. Short par 5.
The other thing, I actually just saw it there with Chris Wood, is that he wears just that sort of almost inner sock. Doesn't cover his ankles, barely comes out of the shoe. Nasty, nasty. Yeah, it's a new Nike shoe. They do sneaky things, these manufacturers, don't they? It's amazing how at the major championships now, they all like to launch something. Titleist have launched their new TS2 and TS3 drivers this week in Europe. They launched them in America for the US Open. The Titleist players have put those in this week.
And they're hitting them 20 yards further, as every new driver. Fowler for birdie, a little left to right, hold up.
Yes, if you believed everything you heard and read, they would now be driving at 647 yards.
Wait till they get downwind on the 6th this week, Jules, they might.
Needs a bit of a spark, doesn't he? Just
5 under still leads as Rahm looks to remain at 1 under. Kevin Kisner in the clubhouse with a 66. He's on his own at 5 under. Eric Van Rooyen in with a 67, and Xander Lombard also on 4 under, going out in 32. Brandon Stone dropped a shot at the 15th, back to 3 under, having got it to 4. Jordan Spieth with a birdie at the starting the defence of his title in pretty impressive fashion, actually, for a man who came in here in not very good form. 69s for Matt Southgate and Danny Willett. Sung Kang has just dropped a shot at the 16th to go back to 2 under. Pat Perez also dropping a shot at the 16th to go back to 2 under. Keegan Na for a win on the PGA Tour at 1 under, along with Jon Rahm. Tommy Fleetwood, course record holder and much fancied this week, along with Alex Noren, both under par early in the round. Noren birdieing the first, Fleetwood birdieing the second. Henrik Stenson early in his round at level par, parred the first 3. He bashed his elbow quite badly and mucking about in the garage, apparently. Able to play, but it's uncomfortable by all accounts.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday, Jules. He whacked it on the door, and it's a bit bruised and a bit swollen just below his left elbow on the forearm. He says it's playable, but it's uncomfortable.
Did he tell you what he was doing?
No, he just said that he'd banged it on the door, but he sort of had a smirk on his face as if maybe he'd done something a bit silly or slipped, or something untoward that you don't expect. Why does it always happen before a major when you want to play your best?
Phil Mickelson's after an early birdie, he had a double bogey 5 at the 16th to be home at 37. Happy Barnrat's on a bit of a bogey run, having gone out in 36, has started back with 3 birdies and 4 holes. Trouble for Patrick Reed too, 2 over. Tyrrell Hatton with an opening 74. Not what folk were expecting. Sandy Lyle playing in his last Open, unless he qualified, but the last one he's exempt for at the age of 60.
Par 5. Wood's taking driver. It's not laying back. A lot of guys just hitting irons or 3-wood here and getting home comfortably with a short iron. 300 yards over the far bunker on the left-hand side.
Yeah. You need to just keep it between the crane.
It feels good. And it's not going to go a whole lot this ball, but it's just slightly right though. It's almost dead right now.
Just wondering if Johnson's had a rest. What do you think, Dom? What's your line?
Well, I was following Koepka and Dustin Johnson on Tuesday when they approached this tee, and they took it almost over that gorse bush. Up by the leads, the yellows has disappeared. But yeah, they were left of that arrow that we just saw on the graphic there. Basically, they're taking it left of this first left bunker, but they were in the rough. Obviously, they couldn't get to the fairway from there, but they had gap wedge in.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. I followed McIlroy the other day, and he flew it just over that and was stuck up on the hill. So to find the fairway, you've got to hit it just right of the bunker.
But being in the left rough today where that pin is, you know, as long as you got a semi-decent lie, it's not a bad spot to be at all.
Well, you're only just going to hit it in between the bunkers there because it's very hard to get to that flag on the right. Wherever he goes, it'll be somewhere you and I can't go, Don.
He's aiming well right.
Might want to get down.
Stay.
It'll be through the fairway. Hopefully it leads to gorse there on the right-hand side.
Well, much more aggressive looking line that Rickie Fowler's taking. Interesting. Rahm's apex was almost 140 feet. Rickie Fowler's just under 110.
Chris Wood's back was 95 a few holes back. Let's see what he. That's it. Not the line. Well, everything will depend on the lie as to what he's. Oh, provision.
The only reason he'd have provisional is if he's in the gorse bush. I mean, there's enough people there that he's not in the gorse for them to find it. Oh, that's even worse.
67 feet. Very low. Oh. So he's got away with it, but let's see what happens to the first one. It's the last real birdie opportunity on the last 5 holes. So after this, they toughen up a touch.
Yeah, I just noticed banging your club on this hard turf like that's not a good idea. The turf usually wins. I know that from experience, grades.
Absolutely no give in this stuff here this week. Hope we don't get too much rain tonight and tomorrow morning. It's forecast to just get a little bit of breeze up would be nice. Caught a lot of those last year. I'm getting pretty good at public transport. The buses around Dundee and
Yeah, I couldn't believe how familiar you are. Yeah. Here's a bit of useless information. Barry Links, which is the train station right beside the golf course, is the least used train stopped in the UK.
I know, because I went over there the other day to check the schedule thinking I'd just have to walk out of the compound a couple hundred yards to it, and there was one train at 6:48 in the morning and nothing for the rest of the day. So heading back into Dundee.
I guess the trains just go roaring past the station, they never stop. I think that's the train from Aberdeen, isn't it?
Yeah. See, we just had 64 people use the station last year. The Barry station.
Pretty sure they weren't different people either.
Former PGA, US PGA champion Rich Beam there, we just saw, doing on-course.
12 years after your win, Wayne. 2002, Rich won at Hazeltine. Oh, Chris Wood, is he in that gorse bush? I think he is. It's a double green with the 14th. The only double green on this course. I don't know why they have gorse bushes on golf courses. They are horrible things. They're not particularly pretty either.
And they're nasty things, a lot of spikes. They've found a ball, so he's just marking it so he can identify it. No. It is, okay, he's found it, so 2 club lengths from there, or he can keep that point between himself and the hole, go back as far as he wants, or he can go back to the tee, because the provisional now is out of play once he finds his original ball.
Looks like he's taking the two club length option. Looks like he's got enough room, but it's dangerous with this hard turf. If he bounces and it bounces back towards him into the gorse, well, that's tough luck.
Luckily there you can see he's on a downslope, so it'll kick away, but it'll kick towards the bunker. If he drops it there and it goes into the bunker, I'm going to say it will possibly go on more than 2 club lengths where he'd be able to re-drop it.
But it looks like it could roll down the hill towards our camera, which may mean he has a backswing that's impeded by the gorse bush. We'll see.
There's an R&A rules official there that's rolled more than 2 club lengths, so he can redrop. Every group has an official with them. Wobbly, just give the ball a clean anytime you drop it. We're able to clean the ball.
Still be looking at making a par. He's still the green very reachable. It's a par 5. He's hitting his third.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
221 front, 18 pin.
239 to the hole,
239.
and it's 200 to carry. The spectacles, just over 200 to carry the spectacles.
That's 3 iron, isn't it? I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. 3 hours. No, it's 2 or 3 hours thinking.
Or 221, it's actually only 185 to carry the spectacles.
Easiest hole on the golf course. Although it hasn't given up the most birdies. In fact, the 6th has given up more birdies. 10 more birdies than the 14th. But they've also had a few more bogeys and doubles on the 6th.
So anything finishing right into the scoreboard, perfect. Maybe on the score, middle of it. Yeah? Come on, have a good swing from there. What's your shot?
Just straight through the middle of the spectacles, all you want. Run the ball down onto the green. Get it on 2 putts and move ahead.
Not winning.
Clip the edge there.
Go.
Might chase that. Just clip that.
There it is. That's all he wanted. That's all he could do. Maybe a couple more yards, but that's okay. 5 would be a good score after his tee shot.
Jon Rahm will be looking to do the same thing. Thread it in between those 2 bunkers on the front of the green. One on the right side, one on the left side. Oh, well, that's... You can't see it, but he'll be delighted with it when he does see it.
Just a touch lucky there for Rahm, but take it. You don't get a lot of great breaks in golf. Now Rickie looks like he's going straight at it. The scoreboard down there in the distance, the flag is just to the left of it.
All right.
It's a big miss, isn't it? For a guy of his quality.
Definitely look on the inside. Ball went straight to the right. It wasn't like a cut, it was just a big block.
Expecting about 170,000 people here this week to Carnoustie, which I think, Dom, is the biggest outside St Andrews, biggest crowds outside St Andrews. So.
It's a good spectator course too.
Yeah.
Sometimes St Andrews is criticised for not being a great spectator course because you can't go up the middle of the golf course, everything's on the perimeter. But this one is terrific, and they've built in some mounds, which Julian was mentioning, to give the spectators an even better vantage point. And it's an easy walk. It's virtually dead flat, like most links courses.
is a little different to Gollan last week. Huge elevation changes, as you say, which is unusual for a links course.
He'll be really upset if he doesn't make birdie here. He's left himself a lot of work to do.
Get up. Get up.
I know I've said he's the most level player I've ever seen, but I'd like to see him spark up a little bit.
It's like the modern day Fred Couples. It's cool. He's a Californian from Murrieta, California. Now lives in Jupiter. I think half the tour lives in Jupiter.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys down there. It's a very popular spot. A lot of them used to be in Orlando, but once the money started to increase on tour, it's 3 birdies and 3 bogeys, even par. He's got the bulk of the work ahead of him, 15 to 18.
This is, I think, his 3rd or 4th eagle putt of the day. Jon Rahm. I think it's his third, the 6th, and now the 14th.
Is to get to 2 under. It's got to keep breaking left, but it goes right. These guys playing behind Spieth, Justin Rose and Afi Barnrat. Spieth's 3 under for his round. Justin Rose just took 7 here. He's 2 over for the championship, and Afi Barnrat's had 3 bogeys in a row to be 3 over.
It's a 7,400 yard course, playing probably about 6,600 yards, but you just get yourself in the wrong spots, especially where they've tucked the pins today, and getting up and down, just like Rickie Fowler. He misses it in the wrong spot with his 2nd. Not going to get it up and down. Even par with 4 holes left to play, but there's some 4 holes. Although with this wind direction, it's certainly a lot easier than it can be.
Kisner in the clubhouse with 66, a 1-shot lead over Eric Van Ruin, who led most of the day. Ryan Moore off to a hot start, 4 under through 6. Last week's winner Brandon Stone continuing some good form, or his good form of late. He missed 9 cuts this year out of 16 tournaments before he won last week. It's incredible.
He's completely forgotten about those 9 missed cuts now too, Grades. I mean, after winning such a big event, a Rolex Series event, of course.
.455 yards, slight dogleg right to left, but the fairway slopes from left to right. And really only can hit an iron off here anything longer than that. The further you go, the more the ball is just going to feed into the right-hand rough. No other choice. And then you have to land the ball short of this green with the front pin and let it roll on. You can't fly it on there and get it anywhere near the flag.
Yeah, ideally, you just want to move this sort of right to left 5 or 6 yards. Start it at the TV tower, just let it turn over. Or start it right at that, turn it over, that should be perfect. It's a tough second, as Rahm was saying. You've got to land it short, but if you land it just a little bit short, you land on a downslope and you'll be over the back of the green too. So you've always got to land it 15 yards short of the green and let it release.
.240 to the first bunker on the right, .270 to the second, which is what Jon Rahm did.
Ended up being a good par on the last hole for Chris Wood after driving it into the gorse. Also an iron, as Wayne says, you can't really hit anything else but on this tee shot. Ooh, but that might bring bunker into play. No, he seems pretty confident.
Having an ice cream out there. Nice, warm, sunny Scottish day, 22 degrees.
Rickie back is what you do.
321 feature group: Tiger Woods, Matsuyama and Russell Knox. Scottish-born player who won a couple of weeks ago in Ireland in a playoff. Matsuyama's been struggling a little bit with form, and Tiger, everyone's excited to see what the big cat can do in his return to the Open Championship.
There'll be big crowds following that group. Tiger and of course Russell Knox, hometown boy, was born in Inverness, just about 100 miles north of here.
Amazing the number of people inside the ropes these days at the Open Championship.
Seems like there's more every year.
See that girl there carrying the microphone back in the '89 Open. There's a guy somehow got in the final round, somehow got his way onto the fairway carrying one of those, but it had no cord on it, and he walked around 15 holes following us before someone realised that he wasn't with the network.
TV crew.
He wasn't.
Brilliant, actually.
But he had a good view for 15 holes.
That was in your group, I take it, was it?
Yeah.
Who were you playing with that day?
Who did I play? Tom. I played with Tom Watson
In the final group?
on Sunday, yeah.
Fowler, 251. Jon Rahm, 291 with an iron. Very good spot he's going to come in from. But like we were saying, it's a big fall off from about 6 yards from the front edge of the green. It's a steep slope. So if you land it on that slope, the ball's going to kick towards the back of the green. But then judging how the ball bounces and reacts after it lands, it's part of the uncertainties of playing links golf. So if you land it 15 yards short, it might have a soft bounce, might be on one of the sort of moist patches. There aren't very many of them, or it might land on an upslope and you end up short of the green or short of that downslope. And then you've got a tricky up and down too.
Yeah, if anything, there's a slight bit of hurt, but I mean, there's so little of it that I don't think it's getting hurt.
Pretty good, even a few yards shorter than that. Couldn't get it too close to the flag because he's on the left-hand side of the fairway. The wooden Rahm, a little bit better angle.
Go a touch.
Judged to perfection, big Chris Wood.
Now Jon Rahm coming in with a shorter club's going to land a bit softer, so where is he going to land this? Such a simple action. There are 3 excellent shots.
Go, Rickie!
Game 20.
First groups went around this morning in 4.5 hours. These guys hit off at 10 past 10. So they've been out there for almost 4 hours themselves with 3.5 holes to go. So it's getting up closer to the 5 hour mark, about 4:45.
Which is still acceptable, I guess.
4:45 is great. 5 hours. 5 hours seems to be acceptable. Still slow, but it seems to be. But
Well, this year at the Masters on Thursday, the last group took 5:45. I mean, the greens are that much quicker there, and you're going to have a lot more three putts. Guys are going to be a lot more careful on them. But that is too slow. I played the other day, grades 4 ball, 3 hours 20. That's proper golf.
yeah, let's have another look at Rickie Fowler from the left-hand side of the fairway, ball below his feet. Trying to move it right to left, which is difficult. And pretty good shot.
Well, this one was the best of the three. Caddy asking it to go a touch, and that second bounce really was quite soft. Then it caught the slope. Brilliant.
And the third member of the group, Jon Rahm, flying it all the way to the surface with 3 good shots.
You heard the reaction. Must be right beside the hole. Was looking good. That's a par for Rickie Fowler.
Jon Rahm to get within 2. And he's, oh, hit it, Jon. Three to go.
Yeah, anything in the 60s would be a terrific round. It's par for a 69. I wonder if they're going to continue to tuck the pins as they have on this day here today. I guess if the course stays as firm as fast as it is, they probably will be tucking them in the corners every day.
So no one converts here at 15. Yeah, I suppose it depends on the wind. They'll obviously monitor the weather conditions very closely. Try and set the course up accordingly.
If they do, it really means to shoot a really low score, you're going to have to hole a bunch of long putts, 3 or